Welcome to the Broken Sun. Welcome back, everyone, to Specters of a Broken Sun. This is Season 2 of our Stories of a Broken Sun anthology podcast. We're an actual play show. Currently, we are playing the game Scum and Villainy by Stras Acimovic and Leboef-Little, which you can purchase from Evil Hat Games. And you should. It's a Forged in the Dark game. Today, we are going to be moving on to Session 13, which that means we have now had more sessions in Season 2 than we had chapters in Season 1. Season 1 ended with Chapter 11, but Season 1 did also have longer chapters. And I think I'm thinking 14 or 15 will be the end of this season, unless something goes dramatically wrong. But when we left off, we had our Sunbreakers had made their way out to meet with the Schism fleet of the Hygiene Logistocracy. The Hygiene Logistocracy has sent a fleet on the hopes of crushing the quote-unquote rebellion aboard the Habitat, which is called the Habitat of League of Orbital Nations, short form Hablon, and hoping to take over the land from the uppity rebels who live upon it to help out the people on the sun. This group of people with whom the Sunbreakers are meeting don't agree with that goal and are working on negotiating their own terms for assisting against the rest of the Logistocracy, or at least withholding their support from the Sun and their attacks. They have also recently acquired a green-skinned clone body of Whiskey Tango called the Weapon Table, who has been staying with them on the Express. Their goal is, I think, to turn him, or perhaps help him find some form of redemption, knowing that as a clone with a cybernetic positronic brain, he did not necessarily have any choice in who he is or how he acts or how he acted up until this point. So meanwhile, you have met representatives from the Andromedan Exile. You met Home, Lucky, and Fibonacci, representatives from the Centauran Fellowship, part of a group called the Enduring Loop, Looming Evenfall, Dangerous Midnight, Bitter Awakening, and Ravening Zenith, and representatives from the human factions in the Logistocracy, Vaxel Gray, who is a representative of the Shroud, Stylish Fountain, a representative of the Shipping Authority, and Eli Vok, a representative of the Hedonarchy. Every season we've had, thanks to a certain player, some variation on a group dedicated to hedonism, so I have to remember which one's which. Can't wait for our Season 3 hedonists. Right.
The scratch post.
Canon now.
Don't say funny things while I'm eating my soup. Come on.
Soup is the best podcasting food, obviously.
Well, it was easy. It was microwavable.
Yeah, well, it works, and that's the important part.
This is all very reasonable.
Eli is a cyborg, and he had a fancy eyepiece, which, as it turned out, housed some part of Velico. And Keva was able to help reunite that part of Velico with a different node of Velico that, as it turns out, has been living inside Mandukai's brain since birth, maybe? It's difficult to say. We don't have all the details on Mandukai's brain situation yet. Negotiations began with each party laying out what they wanted and what they were willing to offer in return for it. So the Andromedan Exile actually didn't want anything in return. They just enjoy the company of sapient creatures who are not monstrous, so they are willing to help, or at least they have said they will not assist the Logistocracy if they carry out an attack on Hablon. They haven't actually said that they'll help you, just that they won't help the Logistocracy. The Centauran Fellowship, they have said they have technology for terraforming to help fix some of the environmental issues that have been going on aboard Hablon for hundreds of years, ever since the people in the sun busted into it, messed up all the systems, and dumped garbage everywhere. So they can help with the terraforming, and they would like some underwater space to live in on the Habitat, which would mean perhaps displacing local aquatic life on the habitat to make room for their settlement. And they understand that despite being upset with what has happened to your habitat, they understand that that is not the fault of the people living on it so much as the fault of the ruling class aboard the Sun battle station. So Stylish Fountain and Vaxel Gray both want to establish a settlement for the Hygean Logistocracy's civilians aboard Hablon, and they want that settlement to be separate from yours, so separate from Gov's domain, but with equal land rights. In return, they're offering access to the shipping authority's efficiency technologies, their agricultural technologies, which allow them to grow food in basically vacuum, which would be useful in a desert, and of course, the Shroud itself, which is the technology which has hidden the Hygean Logistocracy from the emergency and the mistake coming from Earth. Eli Vaughn has said that the Hedonarchy just wants to go and kick the Sun's asses because they think they suck, and they want to have a big fight with them about it. So he seems cool so far. That's that so far. Mandakai wanted to make sure that they weren't going to destroy all of the desert and just turn everything into gardens because, as she rightfully pointed out, a desert is in its own way also a garden, an important part of an ecosystem. Like, did you know that the dust from the Sahara Desert is one of the reasons why hurricanes aren't worse? Who knew?
Wow. And that's interesting. I wonder how it was when the Sahara Desert was not a desert.
Yeah, probably worse in many ways. The dust from the fossils of when it was a lake, though, that fossil dust flies across the world to the Amazon rainforest and provides nourishment to those trees. So, deserts, pretty good, actually. Everything is all part of the big circle of the ecosystem's interconnectedness. So we do need deserts, just not quite so much desert as we currently have aboard Hablon. Okay, so your negotiations have been ongoing, and it has been, I'm going to say, at this point, you're on day 3 of your negotiations, which are expected to last for 3 to 4 more days at this point. It's exhausting work. It's probably not what most of you enjoy doing with your time. I can't imagine actually any of you enjoying this as a pastime.
I think Keva enjoys hanging out with these people, but not trying to negotiate as much.
There's several cranium and fist-sized holes in the coral of the walls of Maeve's room.
Understandable.
Cranium?
It does always grow back, by the time you wake up the next day. It's been repaired, it's grown over, but it's usually a slightly different color. So basically, so far, all of you have said you're pretty okay with the Centaurans living in the aquatic parts of the habitat, the big salt lakes that you have.
I had one, in the Salt Lakes, but one idea was that they could start setting up a base camp there, but then maybe find uninhabited area and create their own.
That's possible. They would need to find a way to get a lot of water into the habitat that doesn't already exist there, which is possible. It's just it's an undertaking, so that's possible too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Emren wants to help the Andromedans and wants to keep the Hedonarchy close to keep an eye on them. Let's see. So far, you have not had any luck getting the Logistocracy to budge on having a separate settlement. So far, that has not been the thing they've been willing to move on. They've moved on other small things, but the idea is still that our cultures are very different. And while we will have exchange between us, we don't want to change our culture, and we don't think that we should contaminate your culture, which has already been devastated by the Solar Free State. So that's ongoing.
What have they budged on?
The level of technology that they're willing to offer you, the amount of support and supplies that they're willing to exchange. It's like brass tacks kind of stuff that you're down to at this point. They are, of course, the Shroud thing is the thing that I know your side is not willing to budge on. That must be a part of the deal. And they have so far been amenable to that.
So has there been any concession about letting goodwill ambassadors be with them?
Yeah, embassies are something that they are open to. Embassies and diplomatic ties, political connections.
I meant
trade.
In their settlement that there would be a couple people learning with them or...
Yeah, I think their expectation is that there will be immigration between the two settlements, between Gov's domain and whatever they set up. That seems to be what they mentioned last time. They expect that will happen, but they weren't going to say we're going to come and live in Gov's domain or we're just going to come and live in Gov's domain. or we're going to come under the control of your government. That was that's the thing they're not willing to budge on.
No, I'm fine with them not being in our government because ours is a shambles kind of at this point. But I mean, like,
it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I will stop eating now. But I think that the main point is for Keva on Keva's side is just like, hey, you know, you got to at least like follow certain rules and not try to colonize.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of stuff that we're up to negotiating at this point. Like, what are the ground rules? What are the expectations that both sides have? And that what are the lines? Where are these lines drawn? What can you do? Where is this far and no further? That kind of stuff is ongoing. And we don't need to know all the details of that right now because talks are ongoing. But the current floated idea that I think came from your end was that you would have some type of neutral ground where you could have conclaves with the leaders of the different groups, with whatever Centauran settlement, Andromedans hanging out nearby, Gub's domain, however many different factions there are in Gub's domain now, currently 3 at least, and Logistocracy settlement, where you'd be able to get together and try to work out some type of cooperative system. So that's going on. It's the end of day 3 of negotiations. What have your characters been doing for their downtime? Because you have access to the Express, which means you can do downtime stuff. And we didn't get to downtime at the end of last session, but I don't want to move onwards without giving you that opportunity for your downtime actions and the type of advancement and stuff that you get out of that. Does anyone have something in mind?
Oh, just so you know, we didn't introduce ourselves.
That's true. I should probably do that. As everybody is figuring out what they did with their downtime, I will introduce them. So our players today, we're joined by Trudy.
Hi, my name is Trudy. My pronouns are they, them. I play Zora. Her pronouns are she, her. She's got a lot of hang-ups from working for Gov and a lot of trust issues that are kind of seeping into all of this right now.
For sure.
So
I know Zora was also a little shaken by what Mandukai said to her at the end of the last session, too. So maybe we'll see some fallout from that.
Yeah.
We are also joined by Velvet.
Hello, everyone. I'm Velvet Fair, and I am playing Maeve Sentis, who is she, her.
Excellent. And we're joined by Keekers.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Keekers. She, her. I'm playing Keva, who's she, her. And glad to be here tonight.
And finally, we are joined by Michael Blood.
Howdy, everyone. It's me, Mike. They, them. Tonight I'm playing Emren Pak, he, him. And, he's just a lovable lug nut that is going to be the drill that pierces the heavens.
Those heavens are waiting. And I am Arp. My pronouns are he or they. You can find me on Twitter at YCaliber, follow the show at Broken Sun RPG, or go to our brand spanking new website, brokensunrpg.com, which it has so many cool things on it now. I'm really happy with how it has come together. I wish the RSS feed weren't such a nightmare to deal with, but everything else is great. The episodes are all organized by season, side story. We've got a whole section on where to start. We have summaries of everything from season 1 and parts of season 2 if you want to jump in at a certain point, but you still want to read up about what happened. All the characters, major NPCs, detailed write-ups on all the factions. Everything you could want to know, it's there.
Just realized something important, though.
Yeah?
We still need to add Gumboy.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole Satchel Folk spin-off website that we'll get to. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
We have priorities here.
Yeah, I've been working on it a bit, or at least trying to organize it.
You're the official Satchel Folk brand manager of the Stories of a Broken Sun franchise. Okay. So what have your characters been up to? You get 2 downtime actions during downtime. Downtime actions include acquire asset, which you could technically do here. There's a group of ships. Craft, indulge vice to help reduce your stress. No real need to lay low right now. Long-term projects, recover, to harm, repair. The ship's fine. And train if you want to add attribute or playbook experience. So as a reminder, aboard the Express, no, you don't have any specific training facilities aboard the Express, which makes sense, but there it is.
What about the Andromedan ship?
I don't think it has anything that is...
Sorry, I meant the Centauran.
Jellyfish Junction?
Yeah.
I'm sure it has training facilities, but they are likely designed for Centaurans, so you might not be able to get the same benefits out of them. So if you want to do training, you can still do that. It's just you get 1 experience instead of 2.
I was just thinking that there would the prowess or physical side, we could probably say that they had that, because it would be like, well, you can swim.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. It's just, as it's not your facility, you don't get the extra bonus experience. So any thoughts?
I'm still working on getting in good with the space leviathans.
Okay. Do you think that's a long-term project?
Yeah, that's probably a long-term thing.
Okay. So I'm going to set up a 4-step clock over on the clocks page. Yeah, so I'm going to set up a 4-step clock for you to make contact or contact with the ship, with the Centauran ships. How are you going about doing that this time?
I think I'm still going to be using Attune for mechanics purposes, but I think I'm going to try to use the same tactic I used when I started with the swarm. Like, instead of just like broadcasting my thoughts, I'm going to try to like weasel into theirs and just kind of vibe and get a feel for how they think.
All right, sounds good. So I guess roll your attune then. We'll see how that goes.
All I can think of is this video.
Risky standard where we thrive.
All right, you got a 6.
You've been brought to the House of Vibes for your vibe check.
Yeah, so this goes really well. You are able to, by hanging out in the sort of mind space of this ship, you are able to just figure out the wavelengths on which it operates and see how its brain or neural network or whatever it is works, which gives you a really good insight into how you might soon be able to communicate with this alien intelligence. So that's given you 3 ticks on your 4-tick clock. So that good result, I would say.
Nice.
I think for Maeve, this is kind of a learning experience because you're used to dominating the things that you connect with to your mind powers, like with the Ebon Dowager and the insect swarm and stuff like that. Whereas this is not a mind that you can dominate. And I think you're finding that simply vibing with it, as you said, is helping you understand it a lot better. And maybe that's something Maeve will take a lesson from, or not.
Maybe.
Maybe.
A.
Who's up next?
Emren will train.
Okay, what's Emren training?
Insight, sorry.
Okay. What's this look like for Emren?
I think just to help focus and decompress so he can start to just try to order his thoughts after every day of deliberation. Emren has just been trying to channel his own bioelectricity into his sword.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I think you're finding as you do that, the sword reacts by glowing in different colors, which oddly enough, you can actually see those colors only on the sword. The way that your bioelectricity is interacting with them, it comes up in different colors depending on how you're feeling. And it's not all a solid color, of course, because feelings are complex. It's like a mood blade in a way.
That's so cool.
All right, so that's training your insight.
That's 1 or 2 points.
It's 1. Yeah, if you have the facility, you get 2. But
right.
There's an insight training facility on the probable cause, but not on the express. Anything Keva's doing?
Yes. Sorry, I was distracted there for a second.
That's quite all right.
Somewhat distracted today. But anyway, so first of all, Keva would like to research. So that's a long-term project.
Okay. What are you researching?
Okay. Keva is researching, and this makes me sad, honestly. Keva's researching people setting up colonies and stuff like that, and kind of like colonization.
Okay.
See, like when it was successful for both parties. When I say successful, I mean like not detrimental.
Didn't result in the extinction of one or more cultures.
Yeah. So basically, like for example, one of them were, I mean, it definitely affected this culture when it happened, but kind of like one of the a better outcome. I mean, obviously this had far-reaching effects either way, no matter what happens, but for both parties, when the U.S. tried to open up Japan forcefully, that did not like negatively affect either party to a degree. I mean,
it did.
Yeah, but it's less so than other.
It's like, I think Keva will be, while researching this, learning that like there isn't a way to have no effect, obviously. The question is looking at ways to ensure that those effects are not
terrible.
Don't lead to the end of a culture or the irrevocable change of a culture or peoples. Like, cultures are going to shift over time, and as they adapt to new elements, like, that's a natural part of a culture, the evolution of one. The question is, how do you do that without one culture forcing changes on another or affecting it in a way that removes what that culture is or what's unique or special or important about it,
or their agency? Yeah. And I think that, for example, like, when I was researching this myself, being like, was there a situation where it wasn't terrible? And I mean, yeah, most of the time colonization is terrible, but there can be certain aspects of where it's like, oh, well, that part was okay-ish, or no, that was a good change that happened there, because I mean, it changed it. But so, for example,
like things like cultural exchange or trade can be positive in certain ways.
Better
so
medicine.
I think, well, Keva is researching this. Like, one of the object lessons is that in general, it's a question of power imbalance, and it's a question of cultural supremacy and cultures finding a way to balance rather than attempting to dominate, which is a very rare thing in human history, unfortunately. So researching this is probably where Keva is learning lessons about largely what not to do, and then finding the occasional moment of like, well, this wasn't so bad. Is there a way that we could incorporate this into our plan for the future without, the bad part of it that was attached?
Exactly.
So it's like a roadmap to idealism in a way. So what do you want to roll for this type of research you're doing? I would assume study, but I'm open to whatever you think is appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was saying it sounds like resolve, but none of those are exactly it. So yeah, study.
Okay, you can give that a roll. The position and effect don't matter in downtime.
Whoa, what?
You rolled a 1.
I rolled a 1.
I think that is reflective of what we were just talking about. It's difficult to find information on times colonization went well.
Yeah, Keva literally just finds out about all these terrible things. Well, this is what happened when the English took over India. This is what happened when
This is what happened when the English.
Oh. Like, Kevin's like, who are these English people? They're terrible. Apparently,
So yeah, learning about that aspect of history. But it's a start. You're able to start finding some information that is at least useful to you in finding things to avoid in what the other parties are suggesting. So like, Keva can point out, well, people are suggesting, well, we could do this or that, the other. And Keva's like, well, that didn't work out so great in the Congo. And so that can be a kind of thing that helps you get better positioning in the negotiations as they start to understand that, you're not just young folks, you are intelligent and capable people who are representing your culture in this way.
I want to say that someone walks into Keva's room at some point to look for her, and they find a notebook with all these notes, and scrawled in it is like the Union Jack just says, "Don't believe their lies."
What's Zora up to?
Well, normally when she's ill at ease or anxious, which she is, she's totally out of her comfort zone right now. She'll pray, and she thinks about what Mandukai told her earlier, and she's going to give it another shot and try praying for a change.
Okay. You could have that as a training of your resolve, maybe, or you could work on a long-term project for trying to come to terms with your faith, something along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably better for her to come to terms with her faith, since that's what she's struggling with right now, given all the stuff that happened with Gov. It's difficult for her to, I guess, reconcile the things that she did with what she believed.
Okay. So maybe a project about maybe Zora's learning about the historical religions that the people who built Hablon, her ancestors, had and their belief systems. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd be learning about things like Buddhism, Hinduism, things along those lines. So that's probably study also.
I want to add Sikhism, Jainism.
Yeah. Islam.
There we go. Is the position just risky?
It doesn't matter for this. So just
always no risky standard. That's where we thrive.
It is risky to look into the past.
Learning about history is always risky.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay, so that's a 3. So that's fine. That's still fine. So you still get 1 dot on that.
I'll take my 1 dot.
the dark side clouds and obscures much.
Okay. Second round of actions.
Question.
Yep.
Have we been provided with any sort of information as far as the Hygiene Fleet's battle plan, or have they yet to reconnoiter with the sun?
They have not made a connection with the sun yet because the sun, as it turns out, does not have spaceships.
Right. Okay.
So it's right now the Logistocracy fleet is outside. They're communicating via like radio at the moment with the sun. So they're communicating through the old spaceport, which you could potentially jam if you wanted to do something along those lines.
Raspberry jam, specifically.
Would it even be I would like to, if not jam, tap into those communications, but also would it even be an activity to get a map of the assets that the fleet has?
That's probably something you can do through the negotiations once you've established the baselines for cooperation.
Okay.
Like, I think that's probably something that they're holding as a bargaining chip.
Yeah. It's like, we want to know what we're fighting. No. Okay.
Yeah. Like, we'll give you the details on their battle plans and their resources and stuff once we have a satisfactory agreement.
That's yikes of them.
Yeah. They didn't come to play.
Okay, we can talk about that in negotiations later. I guess, Emren would want to, I don't know if the Andromedan Centaurans or the Logistocracy is engaged in any efforts clandestinely to tap into those radio transmissions or to jam them, but I imagine the Hedonarchy must be.
Okay.
So making good on my threat promise to Eli Vog, I'd like to become his friend and see if we can work together to do that.
All right. So do you want to... Let's see. You said you were going to make him a replacement eye.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Okay. So for crafts, roll rig or hack. The result indicates the quality of the asset using the crew's quality as a base. You are tier 1, I believe, is the express. So you add +1 quality if you have a workshop on your ship or for each cred spent. So you would roll your rig or hack. I think it's rig in this case.
I imagine the express does not have a workshop for cybernetics.
Let's take a look.
We do have a weapon table.
You do have a workshop aboard the Express. We determined that, I think. So
so that's going to be 3 days. I have a stash. I don't know if I could spend 2 for 1 out of there.
I think you can if you want to.
Yeah, I think Emren wants to do a great job.
So you don't have to spend cred before you roll in this case. You can spend it after the roll.
Oh, all right, perfect. Then I'll do I have the workshop, so it's 3 dice. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Crit.
Oh, no.
Okay, you got a crit. Excellent. So that means you get tier quality +2 to start with, +1 from the workshop. So that is tier 4. Holy crap, Emren.
I'm so good at cybernetics, guys. Folks.
Wow.
Hey, I made you something better than you had.
Yeah, I think a tier 4 cybernetic eye. Is this made out of SGM? Are you flexing in that way?
I have finally learned how to work it.
Yeah, I think because you can work it with your mind, right? So you can...
This is a personal milestone.
Yeah, I feel like, oh my gosh.
This is what your anime arc has been building towards.
Finally.
You probably have like a bit of a, what's the term I'm looking for? A montage of Emren in the workshop, first in the forge going like clang, clang, clang on it. Nothing happens. Doesn't heat up properly. And then like trying with like technological tools and nothing happening. And then finally like, I'm gonna use my brain.
Give myself a double nosebleed migraine.
Like in, I don't know if you've seen Mob Psycho.
Yes, go ahead.
Just like the crafting meter instead of the emotion meter for Mob. Like crafting 20%, crafting 100%. What's this thing look like?
You activated my craft. Before he just had like your standard bad guy red cybernetic eye in his head.
Phantom of the Opera mask, yeah.
This is a silicate graphene met using like whatever cyber eye as a base that I could scrounge up, and then it's sleek and is sort of because we have a brand, it's a burnt orange color, and it has a fox head like what's the word, like decal in it, like on top of above the eye, and like the Phantom Opera mask. So when it catches the light, it's like a graphic book card. You like he turns his head, and it's like a holographic fox head symbol. And otherwise, it just looks dope.
I think Eli is absolutely thrilled with this thing. And yeah, do you want to do a quick installation scene?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Do you invite him to the ship, or do you go to meet him somewhere?
Probably go to meet him somewhere.
Okay. So he has a room here. Otherwise, you could go to his ship. It's up to you to determine that. Like, you ask for a meeting, he's like, yeah, we can meet up. I'm happy to talk with you. I know we've got a lot of things we need to work out.
Right, and not everything strictly at the table.
Yeah, Keekers?
Can I just say that Keva wrapped it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Look,
Nice bow.
it's in a blue box with a iridescent bow.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, did you say, were you going to his ship, or are you going to meet him on the Jellyfish Junction?
I'll go to his ship if it's docked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's docked. It's in the hangar bay here. So it's actually not far. You just walk from your ship, which is parked in the hangar bay, over to his ship, which is parked in a different part of the hangar bay.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Let's see here. Okay, so his ship is called the Impertinent Warpath.
Oh my goodness.
It's bigger than the Express. It's like his outfit, entirely black. It's like a kind of thing. It's clearly designed for stealth. You can see that it is, if it were in space, you probably wouldn't see it. It's got swept forward wings and a very sleek shape. And it looks like it's always got a bit of, steam coming out of it. And yeah, the ramp comes down. You go inside. It's so nice. Like, it's luxury central in here. There are like wall hangings. There's carpeting. There's a full bar
Lord.
in the entrance area.
Is it shag carpeting?
No, I refuse to have shag carpeting in my space future.
Oh no.
No, it persists, Matt.
Yeah, it's a nice carpet that's clearly extremely old.
Okay, so this dude loves antiques.
It's well kept. But yeah, so yeah, he's sitting in a nice chair in the reception area of the Impertinent Warpath, and got one leg crossed over the other, and he's holding a martini. Can I get you anything, Emren?
I'm how about business before pleasure?
Hey, whatever you want. He puts the martini down next to the chair, just in midair, and it just floats there.
Yep, of course it does. Super slick.
Yep, it's very cool.
Emren looks. Doesn't mask the fact that he's impressed. Mind if I sit down?
This localized gravity generator.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah. Have a seat. And there's another large plush chair that matches his. Black leather, not leather, they wouldn't have that. Black upholstery of some sort that's soft, comfortable chair. Large enough for you.
Emren sits down and tests the localized gravity generator and puts the box in midair.
It floats there where you put it.
When I make a promise to my new friends, I like to follow through on those promises as rapidly as possible. And I push the box towards him.
He holds up a hand and crooks a finger, and the box floats over to him. He leans forward, uncrosses his legs, and he shakes out his trench coat, the leather one that he's wearing. That one is leather. And he takes the box as it appears, and he says, "Wow, it's for me."
Yes.
It's ethically, sorry.
Okay. You can see it's
ethically sourced.
Or it's ethically sourced leather, please.
So yeah, you can see he's still got his hood up over his head, still shading that side of his head. He opens up the box and he says, "Nice wrapping." He looks inside and says, "Is this functional or ornamental?"
It should work, given what I understand about cybernetics.
Emren, it's beautiful. This is a piece of art.
I thought my friend should have nice things.
He nods and he looks at the back at the connections, which I assume are the same ones that you saw on the Velico eye.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Excuse me a moment." He turns and holds it up to the side of his head, and there's some clicking and squelching noises. And when he takes down the hood, he turns and you can see the eye glows up in orange, and it goes around a bit, calibrating, and then focuses on you. And he says, "Emren Pak, hell of a mechanic."
I have been for years.
"Wow, what did they teach you kids down there?"
How to make swords.
"Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, you're dead."
Sure. Emren sits back and crosses his legs and says, "How about that drink now?"
Yeah, he gestures and a drone floats one over to you.
Yeah.
So the two of you talk for a while.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I was imagining that Emren would drink a Moscow Mule, but that was just...
Hell yes. Emren is so tough and cool.
For those of you who don't know cocktails like me, I just know that it has vodka, lime, it's in a copper mug.
It's one of the hardest things anyone can drink. That is my opinion. I don't care. It might be the appletini of tough guy drinks, but it's what I like.
I love it.
Okay. Maeve, Keva, and Zora, what are your second actions? You don't have to take second actions, but you may as well.
I would like to train my my beef skill.
Makes sense to me.
With people, but I would like to maybe tie that into, and you can let me know if this is a long-term project. Having been observing these aquatic life forms and getting into their heads, I'm going to try to see if I can morph some aquatic features.
Okay. That's probably a long-term project, morphing aquatic features, because it's outside of the base purview of your powers, unless the aquatic creatures in question are crustaceans, which you can do.
Yeah, I figure I can crustaceans, but I'm gonna start training myself to do some other ones.
Okay. So if you want to start a project for that, then you would need to do the start a long-term project action again on that instead of training, or you can do training and then start a long-term project next time.
I'll train and then I'll start the long-term project next time.
Okay. Are you training with like Zora and Emren and Keva, or are you training with some of the Centaurans, or who are you training with here?
My favorite Centauran.
Bitter Awakening or Ravening Zenith?
No, Ravening Zenith.
Okay. Yeah, she's certainly open to training with you. He says, I would be very interested to see how they battle on the habitat. And let's roll your... No, you don't roll for training.
But you should roll to see if you win.
Yeah, I will roll. I'll roll for beef.
Yeah, I mean, you can roll what's the fight one in this one called?
Scrap.
You can roll a scrap if you'd like.
Oh gosh.
Oh, no.
It's okay.
You rolled some ones. A learning experience. I mean, the enduring loop is like the elite group of Centauran warriors, so this is not an unexpected outcome. But yeah, I think it's not as bad as it was when you were trying to train with Mandukai, because you have been improving, right? You have been getting better in learning how to fight and control your powers in that way. But Ravening Zenith is just so buff, and she's so good at fighting. And it's
clowned on by this fishman. I love this game.
She's really tough. I think she pauses, like you're trading blows and parrying each other, dancing back and forth. I assume Maeve is using like different transformations and stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I wanted to test out like how strong my chitin would be against like their cybernetics.
Yeah, like you put up a chitinous shield and like her fist slams into it and the shield holds for a moment but then cracks and shatters, and like the fist comes through taking you in the chest and you go flying backwards, but you recover yourself. And she's like, maybe that's enough for today, but I'm very impressed by your abilities.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to interrupt.
Please go ahead.
Well, not interrupt, but I just imagine Keva was in the benches like, yay! Woo!
Little pennant with a spider on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Keva or Zora, second actions?
Zora, also another stress reliever for hers, is physically training or, practicing combat. I'm not really sure what she can learn at this point because her scrap is at 3.
Yeah, but you could be just working on your prowess in general, which would mean, you can't improve your scrap any further, but there's scramble, like maybe she's working on her parkour skills or learning how to drive a spaceship or trying to be sneaky in armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just imagining her sneaking around in her armor.
Clank, 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 clank.
She'd be so obvious. Yeah, why don't we...
So you just add a point to your prowess track up there.
Yeah. Okay. It is done.
Okay. And Keva. Just imagining there's this panel in My Hero Academia where All Might is peering around a corner, and it's just he's like 7'5". He's peering around a corner, and it's like, no, come on, no. Just imagining that. Mm-hmm. You're not hiding from anyone.
Yeah, that is on our list of one of the medias that have been consumed, at least by Keva.
And has that informed your downtime action?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I feel bad because I was like, oh, what if Keva like tries to train her prowess for some reason? And now I'm like, oh, everyone else did it. Maybe I
Just
should.
means everyone's working on your physical conditioning.
Yeah, I know. But
You've joined the Body Improvement Club with Ravening Zenith.
This is the Swole Patrol. Get beat
Swole
up
Patrol.
for that.
yeah, I do kind of want Keva to like as soon as Maeve was done, Keva like jumps up from the bleachers. It's like, okay, now my turn.
She looks way down at you and is like, okay.
Someone write down Swole Patrol. That is canon now.
Yeah, so you also are able to spar with Ravening Zenith, and I think she is surprised at your aptitude despite your size.
I need to roll my scrap now.
Okay.
But or wait, well, I wanted to kind of train it. Yeah, so it goes to my prowess, but I really want to see how this one goes.
Yeah, it'll go to prowess regardless. You have to fill up the
Okay.
prowess track to put in a new dot anywhere.
Okay, so Keva got a 5?
5, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think you take her by surprise because Keva's powers aren't obviously offensive in any way.
No.
And he's
not
like,
obviously.
oh, the girl with the cyber hair. All right, well, sure. But we find that Keva is more agile than Ravening Zenith was expecting, and it's hard for her to land a blow on you because you're bouncing around. You've got your shields from your hair and stuff like that, and so yeah,
I just imagine this Keva's being like, this is so much different from fighting with Emren. It's so much fun.
Cam came back just in time for that wounded expression.
No, I meant like it's fun.
Damage is done.
Oh no!
How could I disconnect and then come back when you're just roasting me?
Oh my gosh! No, that's not what she meant. That's not what I meant.
You see him standing in the doorway. There's Emren, sad Hulk music as he walks away.
Oh my gosh!
Emren walks away in slow motion purposefully.
Keva's like, oh my gosh! No, that's not what I meant.
There's the sad music from the Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
And then you're like, that's where the 5 comes in, obviously, because she doesn't beat Ravaging Zenith. She just runs after, she's loping after everybody. Like,
wait, so now everybody has to pick a manga for their like training montages. If Keva's got Hiroaka, Maeve's got Tokyo Ghoul. What's Emren's got?
Wait, what do I have?
Didn't you pick Hiroaka?
Oh, I was laughing about it because I said that she's watched it, but I don't know. When Arp was talking about running around everywhere, for some reason I was just imagining Ranma 1/2, just random dodges, but
that's fine too.
I do fall back to that because that was my first.
However your heart sings, that's the tune we should follow.
Emren's anime is Grappler Baki.
Oh.
That also makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Man, Ranma is so old, and I feel so old.
Okay, the end of the 3rd day of negotiations arrives. Everybody's very tired, and you are gathered in the nice cafeteria outside of the negotiation chambers when all of a sudden, who should arrive but Empy? Empy has not been involved in the negotiations. He has, ever since you first met him, I think he's made it clear that he feels he has no say in anything that you decide regarding the Sun or the Hablon. So he's been remaining on the ship with weapon table, and he comes up and he's looking distressed. The grayscale LCD screen of his face has a distressed face emoji on it. We've got a problem, like real big problem. Weapon table's gone. And I have just recovered from an emergency override shutdown.